My daughter stood there and she was shaking, tears coming down her face, and said, "Mom, I'm a heroin addict."
He didn't tell me why he did it. He just said I was really not feeling well, sad. I was feeling sad. I was feeling very sad, and I just wanted to see what this would do.
So the doctors, prescribed her really heroin, but they called it Oxycontin, they called it Dilaudid, they called it Percocet.
And I think sometimes parents have a misguided understanding of what is really happening now out there.
When did you come in and take your pills and throw it in a bowl and everybody take pills out?
I'm a clergy person. I do funerals for a living. We've got people who've known 20 and 30 folks who died.
1,000 people from Hampton Roads died last year. 1,000 of us.
I said goodnight to him, and the next morning, knock on the door, no answer.
These are hard conversations, really hard conversations, right? But they're conversations that need to be had.
Guess what? We didn't have that conversation, and I lost my daughter.
So it's time to start talking. Over the next hour, we're going to have that hard conversation about the opioid epidemic, the families it's destroying, the unsuspecting kids it's killing. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Chris Horn.
And I'm Stephanie Hudson. We will also talk about how the justice system and the healthcare community are treating addiction and how each one of us can help by knowing the signs of overdose and by carrying a tool small enough to pop in your purse. This may one day save a life. WAVY-TV 10 presents Opioids, What Every Family Should Know, in partnership with the Mark Wahlberg Foundation, Wal-Mart, and in association with the Drug Enforcement Administration. First, what are opioids? There are several types, from prescription pills to illegal drugs.
And what do they all have in common? Pain relief. Opioids attach to receptors in your brain. They trigger a release of endorphins, that feel-good chemical, and dull your perception of pain. That also is what makes them highly addictive. We'll be talking a lot about one type of opioid, fentanyl. Fentanyl is up to 50 times more powerful than heroin and up to 100 times stronger than morphine. Dr. Ben Fickinger works in the emergency room at Chesapeake Regional Medical Center. He says fentanyl has medical uses, but when it's used illegally, it's deadly.
You could be getting 100 micrograms of fentanyl, or you could be getting 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl. And the difference there is between therapeutic effect and, instant overdose.
Instant overdose and instant devastation for families. From 1999 to 2020, the CDC reports more than 564,000 people died of opioid overdoses in the United States. That's more than the entire population of Virginia Beach. During this hour, we will introduce you to 3 local mothers who lost their children. Their kids are among more than 3,000 who have fatally overdosed on opioids since 2007, just here in Hampton Roads. Fentanyl is responsible for nearly 63% of those deaths. That's according to the data collected by the Virginia Department of Health. Virginia Secretary of Health and Human Resources John Littell says the fight against fentanyl is a daily battle.
Even today, 5 Virginians will die from fentanyl poisoning. So every day we're facing that.
And it only takes a tiny bit of fentanyl to kill you. See this penny? Now, look at the date on it. It is that small of an amount. In fact, the DEA says if you can see it at all, it can kill you.
The people profiting off of street fentanyl don't really care what they're creating as long as it's addictive. Dr. Ben Fickinger has done extensive research on opioids. He tells us the common path for illicit fentanyl to show up on American streets is through Mexican drug cartels. But it often starts in China, where measurement and purity are not part of the process.
Fentanyl powder is shaken over a grid, and then whatever falls in each well gets made into a cap or a pill or whatever it's going to be. And so, no, I don't think that there's any care taken to know whether you have a lethal dose. It's very haphazard, and the hope is that by lacing drugs of abuse with fentanyl, there's such an addictive quality to it that the hope is that they get somebody hooked and dependent on it. And if there are overdoses in the wake of that, that's business.
So how did something as addictive and deadly as fentanyl become so prominent in Hampton Roads? Fickenshire says COVID was a key inflection point for a number of reasons that just began to stack up.
This epidemic that is shutting everything down. We didn't know how to respond to it because it was so novel. Doctors' offices that were closing or going to all virtual. You had people that were scared of coming to the emergency department because they were concerned that they would get exposed to COVID. You had the despair and fear and anxiety that went along with being socially isolated. So you had people self-medicating, trying to deal with those negative feelings. Coinciding with that, you have this explosion of fentanyl in the marketplace here. So you have the cartels distributing it into Hampton Roads in massive scale. We found an explosion of overdose deaths related to that.
Up next, a mother's mourning and her mission.
Me not being educated cost my daughter's life.
Her message to other parents after the break. Thousands have died from opioids right here in Hampton Roads. Now we'll introduce you to the mother of one of those people.
Her name is Diana Mitchell, and her daughter Brooke was smart and vibrant. Then Brooke tried heroin. But heroin isn't what took Brooke's life. It was a combination of drugs she never suspected. Brooke Mitchell was a student on the swim team at Bethel High School in Hampton back in 2015.
My daughter stood there and she was shaking, tears coming down her face, and said, "Mom, I'm a heroin addict." You could have knocked the wind out of me.
Diana Mitchell remembers the day she discovered her teenager was just like so many other teenagers in America.
Mom, I was at a party. I've been at parties, an average teenage story, and it was introduced. Everybody was fine, and nobody was getting hurt. So she tried it, and she became addicted.
And Brooke fought that addiction for 17 months, including 2 stints in rehab. She had returned from a 4-month residential program in Florida and seemed to be walking the right path.
And actually she was doing very well, and I will never know why she went with these people one day.
The people who gave her the drugs.
These are not friends. She thought that they were all her friends. They're not her friends.
Told her it was heroin.
You're drug buddies. And if something happens to you, they're going to leave you there, and that was a perfect example. And she had a massive heart attack, and they refused to take her to the hospital.
And once she did get to the hospital, the words Diana Mitchell dreaded.
They had to tell me that she was brain dead. And we spent 3 days there because I was trying to, get all the tests done because I wanted to make sure.
Brooke died in January 2017.
My daughter had in her system on her death certificate says Molly, cocaine, and 2 different types of fentanyl. There was no heroin. I was naive, I was stupid, it would not have never happened to me. But had I known that I should have had that conversation, that it was that prominent in society, that it was out there, then I would have had that conversation. Of course, we had the conversation, make good choices, don't do drugs, but you say that just like our parents used to say to us. But now there's no, do not experiment. You cannot pass go because you're taking that chance, probably 90% chance you're gonna die.
Doctors treat patients like Brooke every day. Street fentanyl is incredibly powerful and can be mixed into other drugs seamlessly.
You don't know what substance is going to end up having fentanyl in it.
Dr. Ben Fickenshire treats people young and old at Chesapeake Regional.
But as a parent, I'm particularly concerned.
Fickenshire and other experts say fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin. The father of 4 recently treated 2 high school students from different schools on different days.
They had both lost consciousness in class. And once we got to the bottom of the story, it was that they had tried to use or had used a vape pen before class, believing that they were smoking synthetic marijuana or THC. And both of them succumbed to a fentanyl overdose in class. And they had no intention of using opioids, and certainly had no intention of using fentanyl. And fortunately, both of them survived and did fine and went home. But as a parent, it just terrifies me.
He says parents need to know that people don't usually go looking to buy fentanyl. the deadly fentanyl is lurking in the background.
Well, usually it's being sold as something else. It's being sold as heroin. It's being sold as Percocets.
Because more and more Virginians are experiencing the trauma of knowing someone who has been poisoned by fentanyl.
First Lady Suzanne Youngkin can relate to what Fickenshire was saying. Fentanyl took the life of a child she and Governor Youngkin know from Northern Virginia.
He fell ill, not with COVID, but with pneumonia. At the time, he did not know that. He took a Percocet, which again was probably something he shouldn't have done. However, he died in his sleep. And the autopsy revealed 2 months later, then in addition to this double pneumonia, he had a lethal dose of fentanyl in his body, and he never had a chance.
Because fentanyl can be mixed into both prescription drugs as well as recreational ones, including heroin, cocaine, and weed, Fickenshire says now is no time to dabble with death.
You really cannot experiment. You can't take something from somebody that you don't know. You certainly can't be the first to use it. If you believe that you're using a synthetic THC from a vape pen, that could be laced with fentanyl and could lead to an overdose death.
A little later, you have the power to save a life.
It makes you feel 10 feet tall and invincible.
How the law protects good Samaritans when a life is on the line. But first, another mother left to grieve.
He never was trying to die.
Her son's heartbreaking story coming up next. There are many pathways to opioid addiction, from trying party drugs to taking pain medication that's prescribed for you or for someone else. That's how it started for Lisa Gherkin's teenage son. Harmon was grieving the death of his father when he took oxycodone left in the medicine cabinet.
We thought we were this normal, great family, and we were a great family.
The Gherkins, in fact, were an ideal family. Steve and Lisa worked for a local school district and had 3 beautiful kids, 2 boys and a girl. Their youngest, Harmon, kept them busy with baseball and bonded with Dad over their mutual love of music.
And then one day we found out my husband had cancer, pancreatic cancer.
His father's death hit Harmon hard. Depression took over, and the 15-year-old spiraled.
And he, unbeknownst to us, started taking some of his dad's oxycodone pills.
3 pills was all it took. Harmon was hooked.
When you stopped caring about baseball, that's when I knew we gotta see what's going on here.
Lisa's honor roll student was suddenly skipping classes and started stealing to pay for his next high.
We would talk about that sometimes, and I would guess a number that I thought was astronomical. Are you spending $500 a day? He said, Mom, that's not even the tip of it.
The stealing led to lockup in a juvenile facility.
It's humiliating. And you tend to want to hide that because who wants to go to work? Oh, how's everybody doing? Oh, fine, Harmon's in jail though.
Lisa's secret was slowly destroying her and tearing the family apart.
So I decided I'm not going to hide it anymore. The more people I reached out to, the more I saw it's happening here, it's happening there, it's happening to you too, it's happening to all of us.
1 in 7 high school students reported misusing prescription opioids in their lifetime in a 2019 CDC report. And 1 in 14 high school students reported current prescription opioid misuse.
Don't think it can't happen to you. Don't think, not in my house, not my kid, not my straight A student, because it was my baseball playing, athletic, honor roll student.
Over 5 years, Harmon overdosed 4 times.
He never was trying to die, wasn't ever trying to. They were all accidental, didn't know what he got.
There's a lot the Gherkins didn't know about drugs and addiction, things Lisa now wants to share with every parent and teen.
That kids just do not have any idea it can be in their marijuana. They think they're just doing a little pot and they die.
Virginia has a Good Samaritan law, so if you're with someone who overdoses, you can take action to save them and you won't be charged. Twice, friends dropped off Harmon at a local hospital. It also protects those who use Narcan or CPR to resuscitate someone.
I carry it. I carry it at all times.
No one told Lisa she could get Narcan for free or even suggested it after any of Harmon's hospital admissions or 6 stints in rehab. She also learned to never let a loved one drive alone to Narcotics Anonymous.
NA is, it's great, but drug dealers hang around right where all the NA meetings are. And when they come out, you know, they prey on these, especially the young kids or the ones that are vulnerable.
Paying for rehab left her financially bankrupt, while navigating the court system bankrupt her mentally.
I really felt a lot of the times he was getting a slap on the hand coming right back out. It's not that I wanted my child locked up, but I wanted my child safe and to know that also you can't keep doing this without some consequences.
His last lockup was an eye-opener. Now over 18, he was in what Lisa called big boy jail. He didn't want to go back. Harmon started a program to become a substance abuse counselor and was looking for a job.
He was excited, I could tell he was excited, but
just 2 nights after he got home,
I said goodnight to him, and the next morning, knock on the door, no answer. My boyfriend now at the time pushed the door open and pushed me away, and we found him in his bedroom. And that's just how fast it can happen.
It's been just 9 months since she laid her child to rest.
It's very hard. It's the worst pain you'll ever feel.
Talking about it is tough, but not talking, Lisa fears, would be worse for all the families who need to know now what she didn't know then.
And it's one undiagnosed depression or one sad event or one catalyst that will send your straight-A student into this horrible world. And I don't wish it on anyone.
Harmon's death is a tragic reminder that prescription drugs can be just as dangerous as the ones bought from a dealer. We sat down with Dr. Jeffrey Wilson, a psychiatrist at the Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters. He says if you're prescribed opioids but don't take all of them, don't leave the extra pills sitting around the house.
You don't want somebody finding that a year later, or one of your child's friends finding that a year later and trying that and kicking off that cascade of addiction in that child's life.
Many pharmacies will safely destroy extra medication for you. In Hampton Roads, those include several CVS and Walgreens locations, as well as at some Wal-Marts, one of our partners on this special.
If you witness a person overdose, you don't have to be a medical professional to step in. Local attorney Chris Jacobs explains how the Good Samaritan Law protects those who try to help.
When Brooke Mitchell OD'd at a party in January 2017, her mom says she didn't have to die.
She had a massive heart attack and they refused to take her to the hospital.
Kids at a party, drug dealers, or other users are among those who may be too scared to step in when they see someone overdosing. Attorney Chris Jacobs says, do it. You won't get in trouble.
The real basis of Good Samaritan laws is for people to help other people.
Even if you're high, drunk, or worried that you might hurt someone, you're protected.
Unfortunately, through various organizations and through various myths, people believe if they help somebody and they hurt them, or they help somebody and don't provide a positive outcome, they could be negligent and sued. I'm at a law firm that represents injured people, and I will tell you that is not the case.
The Good Samaritan Law protects you from a civil lawsuit. There's also a law that protects from criminal charges.
You take opioids to get high, and you overdose yourself, and you drive yourself to a hospital. You are in possession of that opioid because it's in your body. However, when you get to the hospital, you cannot be prosecuted for being in possession of that opioid.
The law encourages the public to get trained in CPR, but it's not required. Same goes for Narcan.
I carry it. I carry it at all times. I thought I was going to have to use one at a concert I went to.
The small and simple-to-use nasal spray brought Lisa Gherkin's son back to life on more than one occasion, and she's not afraid to use it or to embarrass anyone by suggesting it.
Or to embarrass myself. Hey, my son's been here, you know, is there something I can do? Not afraid at all.
Her son was also saved twice by friends who dropped him off in an emergency room. They could just as well have taken him to a police station, fire station, or EMS station had one been closer.
Because you are seeking help from law enforcement. You're seeking help from EMS personnel. You're seeking that help. You have immunity of prosecution for taking somebody there.
Just remember, when it comes to life and death,
my mother would always say, help somebody, help your fellow man.
the law is on the side of life.
Next, a teen's addiction to pain pills.
If she didn't have them, her body would go through extreme withdrawal.
Her tragic story after the break.
The next mother you'll meet has been sounding the alarm on opioid epidemic for 10 years.
Back in 2013, Carolyn Weems lost her daughter Caitlin. The teen's addiction started with prescription pills. Caitlin Weems was the fourth of 5 kids in an active Virginia Beach family.
She was probably my most athletic child, but unfortunately she had a back of a 90-year-old.
Caitlin's doctors tried steroids, physical therapy, and chiropractic for her disc problems.
In high school, she was prescribed painkillers.
And then, in 10th grade, she suffered soccer injuries to her face and mouth.
And again was prescribed painkillers after, and had 9 root canals and just a lot of pain to her face and her back. So the doctors, prescribed her really heroin, but they called it Oxycontin, they called it Dilaudid, they called it Percocet. What they gave her wasn't working anymore, so she started getting it from friends. By the time she was a junior in high school, she was addicted to these things. She had to take these chemicals, these opioids, because it had rewired her brain so much that if she didn't have them, her body would go through extreme withdrawal, vomiting 10 and 20 times a day, in the bathroom with massive diarrhea, chills, fever, and she couldn't function.
Caitlin's brother had a sports injury of his own, and soon she was stealing his pain meds. She tried day programs, residential treatment, and left the area for a shot at recovery to try to get clean. 4 months before her death, a friend introduced her to heroin.
Because he said, it's basically the same thing that you're taking in your pills, Caitlin, but you can get it faster and you can get it cheaper and it'll work quicker.
Ironically, it was around that time that Caitlin, by then 21 with a daughter of her own, wrote a letter to her mom and dad. It brought a flicker of hope, but sadly, it was false hope.
I'm going to beat this. I'm going to be the daughter that I want to be. I'm going to be the person who God made me to be. I'm going to get through this. Thank you for sticking with me. Please, I am so sorry for all the pain I've caused, but we're going to get through this together. And her last sentence was, we're gonna make it. Just watch and see. And 4 months later, she died. So these kids want to get well, these young adults, anybody who's struggling with substance abuse, they don't want to be where they are, and they want to get better.
The stories we've told you show that young people are vulnerable to opioid addiction. Again and again, we've heard parents say they wish they'd talked to their kids about drugs sooner. I sat down with Dr. Jeffrey Wilson, a psychiatrist for Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters. His advice now to parents about how to have that conversation.
A child's first exposure to drugs can happen at school.
Substance use is a common behavior, especially in adolescence, and it certainly is available in our middle schools today.
While hanging out with friends.
You might fall into a delinquent peer group, you get in trouble, you don't really recognize the trouble, you're often impulsively acting before you think it through.
Or in the family home.
About 10% of kids are exposed to substances through their parent, so that's a major concern. So if you have one brother or sister who's using drugs or alcohol, recognize there's about a 30% chance in your average family that another child is going to have, and that's about 3 times the overall risk of substance use disorder.
Dr. Jeffrey Wilson is a psychiatrist at CHKD. He says drug addiction can start young.
The younger the age of the child when they're exposed to a substance, the greater the risk they're going to develop a substance use disorder with that substance.
So parents need to have that conversation with their kids early.
I think it's really important to talk about drug and alcohol use in a developmental framework at the age that the child, so that they can understand it. For most kids, that's going to be around 8 or 9 years old.
But how to start that conversation? Wilson says it's important to teach kids that they can talk to you and ask questions without getting in trouble.
Which turns people off. They don't know that they can talk about their substances with their parents, with their teachers, with their pediatricians, with their psychiatrists, without feeling judged or getting in trouble. And nobody wants to get in trouble. It's really important that we are giving our children hope in the sense that we're able to talk about these things in a non-judgmental way, and the skills so that they can do other things besides using substances.
The best way to keep the conversation going is to pay attention.
The only way we can get involved in that conversation is to really know what's going on with our kids, to talk about what's happening at school, to know their friends, to recognize changes in their behaviors.
Changes in behavior like mood swings, isolation, secretive behavior, changes in peer group, and smoking or vaping. All red flags for parents that something's up.
And help them with the skills so that they can avoid drug and alcohol use in the first place. And if they are starting to use substances, making sure they're getting the help that they need. This is all just behavior. This is my child, and how can I help him or her by providing them with the skills that they need and let them know that there's help available. You're not a bad person who did something wrong. You're a child that made a mistake, and this is what will happen if you keep using these things. That doesn't lead to the relief of suffering. How do we help you relieve suffering?
It is so important to talk to your child about drug abuse in a way that they can understand. But Dr. Ben Fickenshire says don't sugarcoat how dangerous just experimenting with drugs can be.
Talk about the fact that almost every substance is being laced or could be laced with fentanyl, and that one hit, one dose, one pill could kill.
Parents, keep that conversation going and pay attention to what your kids are doing online.
Turns out social media is the new street corner, and drug dealers are happy to deliver to your home. DEA Special Agent in Charge Jared Forget says it's a story he's heard from parents across Virginia. Their sons and daughters dead after they unknowingly took drugs laced with fentanyl that they bought online.
They purchased a pill on various social media applications such as Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. They purchased one pill. Well, it was a fake pill, and it contained a deadly amount of fentanyl.
Later, more from the DEA about how fentanyl is making its way from your smartphone to your doorstep.
But first, a name you might recognize. We interviewed Mark Wahlberg's brother, Jim. He's a recovering opioid addict himself, using his platform to try to save others.
What we're seeing now is that we're seeing young people that have not really had the vast experience of addiction, taking pills and overdosing and dying.
More from Jim Wahlberg after the break. Denial plays a big part in opioid addiction.
It happens on two fronts. The addict saying, it could never happen to me, and then the parents saying, it could never happen to my child.
Two local moms have a message for families in Hampton Roads. Yes, it can happen to you.
We're tired of just going to meetings and blah, 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 blah. It's time that we just shut up and actually have some action.
And what action does she want? After losing her daughter, Caitlin, several years ago to heroin, Carolyn Weems is leading an effort to add a recovery school in Hampton Roads. That's a secondary school for students in recovery from substance abuse or dependency. In the meantime, this teacher and coach talks to groups and high school students.
And this is what I tell these kids in high schools. You know, it's not some person in a back alley with a needle in their arm. It's someone sitting next to you in science class. It's someone sitting next to you at church. It's the athlete on your baseball or football or soccer team. And so we've got to, we've got to break that stigma.
Like Weems, Diana Mitchell lost her daughter, Brooke, and she too is a family advocate. She's also active in several support groups for families ravaged by opioids, and they're growing rapidly.
So like one group I started with in 2017, right after we lost Brooke, there might have been 100 of us. There are now 7,000 of us in that one group across the United States.
With more than 100,000 deaths last year connected to opioids nationwide, Weems says it's time the crisis gets the attention it deserves.
It's more than gun violence and car crashes put together, and we've done a lot to make cars safe, and we talk all the time about gun violence.
But Mitchell says she's fighting an uphill battle.
Do you think you're getting any traction when you try to tell people about what to look out for and what to avoid?
Not at all. I feel like I'm talking to walls. It's not me, but I was just as stupid.
And in just as much denial.
My kids don't do drugs until they did. And that's what killed her.
She says parents need to be vigilant and strong, especially when an addicted child asks for money.
Addicts are very, very conniving. And the addict will show you your child. Just for a minute, you'll see your child. Mom, I love you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'll give it to you this time. And then the addict comes, I got it. See ya. And they're out the door.
And so I think there's enough of us that are now starting to speak out and say, it's okay, my child died of an overdose. That doesn't mean my child was a bad person. That means my child had a disease. My child was sick. My child needed help.
Caitlin Weems is part of a local billboard campaign, Young People Who've Died from Opioids. Her mother was more than willing to find a useful purpose for her own loss. Others, not so much.
And to be on this billboard, I reached out to several families and they just said, no, I don't want my child involved with that because it's just too hard.
Does that hurt the effort?
Yeah, I think so. And I know a lot of people who are in recovery who try to keep it a big secret because the stigma. You're weak, there's something wrong with you, you're immoral, if you have this addiction problem.
We asked both parents what it is that parents most commonly get wrong about addiction.
It won't come into my house because I'm smarter, my faith, I'm a good parent, we're a close family. I can talk about drinking and driving, I can talk about sex, but I don't have to have the addiction, heroin, fentanyl talk because that's not in my backyard.
And Diana Mitchell says if she had a magic wand, she would add to the number of peer recovery specialists. She calls them the most important support for young people with addiction.
Mark Wahlberg is well known for acting, rapping, and social media posts. He also launched the Mark Wahlberg Youth Foundation. That's working to fight the opioid crisis. We partnered with that foundation on this special and spoke with its executive director, Mark's brother, Jim. Jim is also a recovering addict who's traveled the country speaking to kids. I spoke with Jim recently about addiction, hope, and what parents should know.
I think sometimes parents have a misguided understanding of what is really happening now out there. I grew up in the streets, living in the streets by the time I was 12 years old, in and out of foster care and group homes. I never knew anyone that died from an overdose until I got to maximum security state prison. And now I stand in front of arenas full of young people in junior high school and ask anyone that has lost someone they love to an overdose, please stand up, and 80% of the room stands up. It's unbelievable. Oh, I think the first time I smoked marijuana, I was definitely younger than 12. And I was drinking regularly by the time I was 12. More than that, what we're seeing now is that we're seeing young people that have not really had the vast experience of addiction, taking pills and overdosing and dying. There are many young people that have, I want to say, innocently sort of looked into through TikTok or one of these other apps, experimenting with these pills or, and have lost their lives just like that. No time for help, no time for processing, no time for therapy or treatment or any of those things. And You know, when I talk about young people now in terms of these accidental overdoses, to me, I got to be honest, it almost seems a little more intentional than that. It's accidental for the person who's overdosing, but it seems a little more intentional than that with the people who are providing them with these drugs. But these are dangerous times, and communication with our kids has never been more important. Saying to a young person, over 100,000 people, think about 100,000 people. That's everybody in the football stadium, at the Super Bowl. Everybody gone. This thing doesn't discriminate. This doesn't just happen somewhere else. This is happening everywhere. And we need to love each other and take care of each other and lift each other up.
Another place the opioid epidemic is showing up, behind prison walls. The rate of drug addiction in prison across the United States is high. Research shows about 85% of the prison population has active substance abuse disorders or were jailed for crimes involving drugs. Virginia Beach Commonwealth's attorney, Colin Story, believes drug addiction doesn't have to be a life sentence. That's why he's offering an alternative to jail through drug court.
The place for people to get help with their addiction is not prison. That's not what we should be doing, is incarcerating people who suffer from addiction. We need to find alternatives.
And coming up next, we spoke with the drug court judges. They say graduating from the program may be even harder than serving jail time. And we're back in 60 seconds.
The war on illegal opioids has become an arms race. The watchdogs have to get more and more sophisticated just to keep pace with the underground labs.
The criminals who hide fentanyl and other drugs have become so savvy they can trick even the experts. And as far as easy access, social media has become the new street corner. It's the deadliest drug special agent in charge Jared Forget has seen in his 20 years at the DEA.
We seized over 113,000 fake pills in the Commonwealth of Virginia last year, as well as over 122 pounds of fentanyl powder in Virginia in calendar year 2022. That's enough. That equates to over 4 million doses of fentanyl, and that's enough to kill almost half the population of Virginia.
Fake prescription pills made out of fentanyl so convincingly, not even DEA agents can tell the difference.
We cannot tell the difference between a fake pill and a real pill, and certainly your average American cannot. So they're being mass produced and shipped into the United States, where they're being consumed by unknowing users that are being duped into taking these pills.
Forget says Mexican cartels started selling fentanyl because it's more addictive and cheaper to make than heroin.
It's a business model. They're making more money. They can afford to have some people die.
And just like other businesses, the cartels are adapting to how Americans like to shop.
People assume that one gets drugs from a drug dealer on the corner of a street. It's not that way anymore. People are buying them online.
Forget says cartels are tech savvy, advertising on social media and accepting online payment.
We see them on all the traditional apps. We see them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And they're marketing in plain sight. They're advertising, connecting, communicating on different encrypted apps and getting delivered right to your front door.
But what those online advertisements don't say, the product they're selling isn't really the one they're pushing.
They're buying a pill online. What they're getting unknowingly is a fake Oxy 30, for example. It's a fake pill containing more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is enough to kill. And so if there's an ability for the cartels to make a more attractive product by tricking people, by creating a more potent, deadly drug, and even if it means duping the user that's using a drug such as cocaine or heroin or meth, and make it that much more deadly and stronger and more addicting, they're going to do it.
As opioids flooded into Hampton Roads neighborhoods, drug offenders flooded into our courts.
Their cases developed a pattern that reflected the forces of their addiction. Drug court offers a more effective option. Addiction involves the same behavior over and over again. And when we looked into drug court, we kept hearing the same word over and over again.
Recidivism.
A pattern of recidivism.
The problem with recidivism.
Before drug court began in Virginia Beach in 2017, addicts who were convicted on drug charges,
they don't show up for appointments, they test positive, they don't follow the rules, and you have what's called a probation violation, which is like a new charge. Eventually, when they keep violating, they end up in prison.
Which is not the right place to send people suffering from addiction. That's the genesis of the drug court. That's the genesis of Judge Frucci coming to the legal community in Virginia Beach and saying we need to do something more.
So drug court interjects itself and stops the cycle right before prison.
Like thousands of others in Hampton Roads, the opioid crisis came right to Judge Frucci's doorstep.
I lost my sister from fentanyl years ago. And so that was a motivator. It doesn't affect the way I adjudicate cases, but it was a motivator for starting drug court. It happened a long time ago, and it was horrific.
Frucci's partner on drug court, Judge James Lewis, remembers his earlier days on the bench.
I was stricken with the lack of resources and tools we as members of the law enforcement community have to help addicts. The tools are just not there.
When I was a young prosecutor many years ago, the thought process was that a drug addict is simply breaking the law, and they should be punished as anyone else who breaks the law. The criminal justice system was never designed to deal with drug addiction.
Drug court uses a team approach with representatives from circuit court, probation and parole, the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, and Human Services.
And then the heavy lifter is the Human Services. So they provide the treatment.
Commonwealth's attorney Colin Stolley says drug court gives the system a better option for a specific type of offender.
We've learned that we're expecting people to break an addiction by saying, just don't do that, don't break the law, when that's beyond their ability to do.
Not everyone qualifies. It's designed for habitual drug offenders with a pending probation violation who don't have violent crime or gun charges in their past. Virginia Beach also rules out those with drug distribution charges. Like the one in Norfolk, Virginia Beach Drug Court is revenue neutral. It operates within the existing budget and staffing framework, and the team members volunteer their time. They say for offenders it's a better way, but not an easier one. Judge Lewis says drug court demands unwavering commitment by the individual, and borrows a line from one of his fellow team members.
If you don't work harder than we work, this is not going to work.
The numbers drive the need. Judge Frucci has looked at national data on the number of drug overdoses in the U.S. each and every day.
And it's usually between 100 and 300 per day. So, and I always say, and this is true, it's like an airliner crashing every single day and everybody dying. And you don't hear about it because everybody's kind of used to it.
The program lasts anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, depending on the level of compliance. Stolley says the graduation rate runs between 35 and 40%.
They're like family, and you want everybody to succeed, and when they do, it's really, really something quite special, almost magical.
When they get out, they are off probation, they are employed, they're clean, and they have the tools to deal with the addiction to, again, stop the cycle of rinse and repeat of violation, prison.
Just ahead, more reasons for hope. A prescription medicine used to treat opioid addiction.
And the miracle device that you can keep close at hand to save a life. Never think you alone can't make a difference when it comes to opioids. A little bit of preparation could save a life.
Yeah, look at this. This nasal spray, small enough to pop right in your purse, has the power to revive many from an overdose almost instantly.
One simple spray can save a life.
Narcan works.
The Reverend Jan Brown is a believer that everyone should carry it.
For me, it's no different than somebody carrying an EpiPen.
Narcan is the brand name for naloxone. There are two types, a nasal spray, and an injectable. Both can reverse an overdose from opioids, including prescription painkillers, heroin, and fentanyl.
I've used it and I've seen it used, yeah.
Brown is also a recovering addict and founder of Spirit Works, a recovery support program.
We've had a person come here, had used before they got here, and saw her start, losing consciousness, called 911, but because we had Narcan here, we were able to use it.
ER doctor Ben Fickenshire can attest to its power.
At times we've seen people getting CPR, and then we're able to get enough Narcan in them that they start to fight everybody. So that, yeah, they really do go from dead to alive. And that's why I think it's so critical for people to have access to it.
In Virginia, Narcan is available for free at most health departments, CSB offices, and pharmacies. No training is required to carry it, but it is recommended. Anton Green conducts Revive training sessions on the peninsula.
We teach you how to administer Narcan to an individual. What does a person in overdose look like?
The signs of overdose include slow or shallow breathing, cold or clammy skin, blue or gray fingertips or lips, a deep gurgling snore known as the death rattle, falling asleep or losing consciousness, and a person unresponsive to stimuli like earlobe pinches or a sternum rub.
Once you administer the Narcan into the nasal spray, it could take 30 seconds, could take 3 minutes for a person to respond. So it's important to continue the rescue breaths, continue to do the sternal rubs, pinching of the earlobes and calling their name while you're waiting for 911 to respond.
Sometimes it takes 2 doses. The person cannot overdose on Narcan, and it won't hurt a person if it turns out they were having another type of medical emergency.
The medicine is designed to fit in the opioid receptors in your brain perfectly. So if it's alcohol or a different type of substance, it's not going to fit in there to harm or damage or anything.
There really is no downside.
I think it's critically important. I think that it's the one thing that people can arm themselves with to try to intervene and save somebody's life.
In nearly 40% of overdose deaths, someone else was there. Having Narcan available could save lives. Some states now have it in vending machines in public places, such as concert venues and shopping centers. Brown believes school nurses and teachers should carry it and advocates that addicts should be handed Narcan when leaving a hospital, rehab, or jail.
I'm a clergy person. I do funerals for a living.
Arming the community, she contends, with this easy-to-carry tool could easily save lives.
We've got people who've known 20 and 30 folks who die, and it's just become routine, and it ought not be routine.
And Narcan isn't the only drug providing hope. More doctors can now prescribe a once highly restricted treatment for opioid addiction.
I spoke with Dr. Barry Knapp at Eastern Virginia Medical School about buprenorphine, who can get it and how it works.
So it's a great drug that essentially is a game changer in how physicians handle opiate addiction or opiate use disorder.
And now, buprenorphine, the drug that doctors consider the gold standard for treating opioid addiction, is available for more doctors to prescribe. Congress changed the federal drug policy in December, eliminating a special licensing requirement known as the X waiver. It limited who could prescribe the drug and how many patients they could prescribe it to. During his State of the Union address in January, President Biden celebrated the move that removed the barrier.
And that's why this is going to be a game changer in how we handle opiate addiction and hopefully save millions of lives as we move from year to year.
Buprenorphine is a painkiller that also reduces opioid cravings and withdrawal symptoms.
It essentially is almost the antidote for those withdrawal symptoms without giving the high that the narcotic or opiate medications would give if you were taking them not as prescribed or on a daily basis.
Buprenorphine is the active ingredient in Suboxone. Currently, it and methadone are the 2 leading treatments for opioid addiction. Typically, patients must go into a clinic to receive methadone, which can be difficult for many, if not inconvenient. Going to the clinics also carries a stigma for many. Buprenorphine can be taken at home. Most patients, he says, will be on the treatment long term.
Yeah, so we need to think of opiate use disorder or addiction as a chronic disease.
While the change in law has the potential to prevent millions of deaths, it is not automatic.
It's not a light switch, so it'll take a little bit of time to ramp up, but ultimately knowledge from the physician perspective, knowledge from the patient perspective, and knowledge from a family perspective are all really key to kind of making sure you can get the patient on the correct pathway to treat their addiction.
Tonight, we have shown you the devastating effects of opioids and how they've flooded our communities, snuffed out lives, and torn apart families.
But we've also shown you reasons for hope. We want to wrap up this special program with a message from the First Lady of Virginia, Suzanne Youngkin.
Thank you so much for focusing on these issues. I think one of the things that COVID did was, unfortunately, it brought us all together to recognize that the needs of others. And it made it very, very clear that no one was immune from that pandemic. And so I am optimistic that we're at a moment in time where, although the need is very great, the compassion is also very great.
And this is not the end of the conversation. Use the camera on your smartphone, point it at the QR code on your screen here, and tap the link that appears. It'll take you to WAVY.com and a host of resources.
There's also a link there for this. On Monday, we'll invite experts to our digital studio to continue talking. You can tune into that Monday at 1 p.m. on Facebook or on WAVY.com. We hope you'll join us. And thanks to everyone who made time for us and worked to bring you the stories and information that we've shared.
A special thank you to our partners, the Mark Wahlberg Youth Foundation and Wal-Mart, and the USDEA.
And thank you for joining us. And like the experts we spoke with and the parents who are already doing so, we invite you to keep the conversation going.
They want to get better and they want to get help. I feel like we need a wraparound for these children.
We know that there's a solution. We just have to have the will.
It is unbelievably gratifying to see these folks succeed.
I think that we are starting to light the way.